Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Gas is on the Right. No, he's got a chance to win the race.
I think that might have been like one of the cleanest hits I've ever seen in a NASCAR fight.
Side Rick. Yeah, the back. Oh! Into the wall hard goes Ryan Blaney.
And he finally came to a stop. And it was just dead silent.
I said this last week, and I'm going to keep reiterating it. Live with the decisions you make. Drive by the decisions you make. Don't change up your style, but also just don't be dumb.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gas is on the Right podcast. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or X, Instagram, YouTube, and all other streaming platforms. You can find us as well. And obviously you probably follow us on Facebook if you're watching our live stream, but if you're listening, make sure to follow us on Facebook as well. Emily, what are we talking about this week?
We actually have 2 weeks to cover because we had some technical difficulties after the All-Star race. But let's go ahead and start with a recap of the All-Star. I want to say the only thing coming out of that was the fight and the penalties.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. So, you got the penalty assessment there?
Yes, I do. So, Stenhouse got a $75,000 fine, as well as 2 crew members suspended. One was suspended for 4 races. The other one was suspended for 8 races. As well as, just a note here, even though it doesn't really affect Stenhouse, his dad has been suspended indefinitely by NASCAR. So what are y'all's thoughts on the penalties and the fines and everything like that? Or the fine, the one fine.
I mean, Daniel, I'm going to kind of concede this to you a little bit, but do you think that it sets a precedent, that there's a precedent? That there's a policy there, or is it just pinning the driver situation? Because, I mean, we look back at last season between Chastain and Gragson, there was no fines. I think Austin Hill and Maya Snyder, there was no fine. Mm-hmm. So what does this say moving forward?
To me, I think that this was just kind of one of those situations to where it's different if you just randomly shoot somebody or if you take time to think about it and shoot somebody. Just regular murder versus premeditated murder. When you have premeditated murder, it's a little bit more intense of a penalty.
That is
so
such an intense example.
That's not, but it makes sense. Does it not?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that.
I don't think it sets any kind of precedent. I mean,
you just got to do it if you're going to do it. Just do it.
Yeah, they could go down there Sunday at St. Louis. Billy Bob and Joe could get in a fist fight, and I don't think they'd fine anybody. I just think it was because he got wrecked on lap 2 and had 198 laps to think about it,
and then still
went down there and hit him.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so
not
just
hit him, but was
and
waiting.
After his, well, we had to be there to hit him, so obviously he waited.
True, but you get what I mean.
Well, I mean, it's not like he could leave either.
Yeah, they didn't have. They don't have any tunnels there, do they?
No tunnels,
I think
no passovers, no walkways, nothing.
Yeah.
If you're on the infield, you're on the infield.
Yeah, he said maybe Richard can hold my watch after the race, and then it's a good thing he wasn't wearing a watch because somebody needed to hold it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the fine for sure for Stenhouse, I think Chase Elliott had a good quote on it this weekend at Media Day of you're going to use it for promotion, but you're going to fine him as well. But at the same time, did he have that same thought process when they used him right-hooking Denny Hamlin at the Coke 600 last year as a promotion? And then they also suspended him for a race. So, I mean, NASCAR is pretty spot on
Which
about
is
how
a
they
way
do
bigger
things.
fine than
Yeah,
$75,000.
$75K.
Right.
So, because I mean, there wasn't any points docked or anything for Stenhouse, but I think it's definitely one of those things of like, it says that you can't just, because the other thing I think that we have to take into account is Kyle Busch was getting to his point of apologizing, of if that's how you see it, well then okay, before he just got rocked.
Now, pause. He was not going to apologize.
I'd
was gonna
say
say, it's
a
Busch,
Busch
come
a Busch
on.
apology. Let me rephrase that.
A Kyle
Like,
Busch apology, which is like,
kind of
we have a difference of opinion.
not conceding the point, but just like, yeah, we have a
Because
difference of opinion.
even in the media center this week, he's like, nothing's changed for me, because if you go back and watch the video, he comes off the corner and puts me in the wall, which is true.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and granted, he was in the wall himself, but it's both ways.
It doesn't help. Yeah, I mean, him being in the wall, obviously, he's leaving Ricky Stenhouse all the room possible because he's in the wall, and Ricky Stenhouse still made contact with him. So
Yeah.
I see his point.
Here, I'll pull that up real quick because I do have that rec still
I was
loaded.
going to ask, did you,
So, but yeah, I mean, if you watch them mid-pack right there, 3 wide, you see Busch going to the wall, and then Stenhouse just gets him one more time.
Right off the
But then you see Busch spends all of turn 3 and 4 trying to get to his
He's not going to be
bumper.
happy about that. Stenhouse going
Finally
for more.
gets there,
He's
and
been
then
gets
3
there,
wide
and then he
already.
just bombs
Cowboy
him in
up. It's
turn
time to go.
one.
$1 million on the line. There's not a lot
He
of
was trying
time.
to
but
rattle
Kyle
his
Busch
cage.
will pay you back, and
As,
here it
as
comes.
a famous phrase from a very famous man once said, I was just trying to rattle his cage, but
it's up to
him
him that
not
he
to rattle.
overcorrected.
So, yeah, that was, was Busch overreacting a little bit at that same point? It is Stenhouse that overcorrected into the wall. I mean, just, you're on lap 2, go ahead and let it spin. Let it spin, bro. It's all good. It was a caution either way. But, I mean, that's neither here nor there at this point. But it doesn't seem like there was anything from it. I think if there was one thing that should have been taken from it is hopefully it lit a fire under that 8 team to perform at the level that we know they should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we did see a little bit of that this week. So hopefully that'll transpire to a racetrack that he's been good at the past 2 years in worldwide technology.
We can hope.
So, but yeah, that's kind of your recap for North Wilkesboro.
I was about to say, there wasn't much that happened. Do you remember who won the race?
I remember that people got suspended, and I think it was Joey Logano. Is that who won? So, I don't think Joey Logano remembered who won.
I don't think
won
anyone
that race.
remembers how Logano won.
So, oh man.
So, to move on to the next weekend, aka the greatest day in racing, but in a classic spin for NASCAR, and now the Indy 500, rain got to them yet again.
That has been just the absolute epitome of the NASCAR season, or any type of marquee event.
Anything you're excited for this year?
Yeah, anything that we've been excited for.
Right.
Daytona 500, the Clash, North Wilkesboro, Chicago last year, Atlanta last year, Coke 600 this year. Coke 373.5 this year. I'm a little salty, but we'll get there. The Indy 500.
We'll get to
relay.
why we're salty in a minute.
But yeah, so we'll start with Indy. Obviously, Kyle Larson was out there this week, and where did he end up?
He finished 18th. Now, I do know that he was leading towards the end, right? I think it was.
Yeah, he was
They
leading
came
with
over
18
and
to
said
go.
It was
like
just like a
18.
pit cycle.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he was leading
was the
in a
last
pit
person to
stop.
pit.
Oh, okay. See, they didn't give us those details.
They did if you watched.
We were busy.
I didn't watch. I saw a clip.
We were watching what we could watch from the 400s at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So it's kind of,
I'm
you know,
surprised they
signal
didn't have it on the
racetrack.
big screen there.
Shockingly, they had
Shockingly
none
not,
of it.
None. They came over the PAs, but on a mile and a half, you get spread out enough, you can't hear anything other than wow.
Yeah. But we'll get to that. So, the Indy, in and of itself, got delayed 4 hours due to rain. which then just kind of screwed up Kyle Larson and his doubleheader that he was. And we'll talk about again what further got screwed up, but that also meant that he wouldn't be able to start in Charlotte either.
Yeah, with the delay, it was Indy or Charlotte.
Yep, and then he chose Indy, obviously, because he did run. He ended up making it to Charlotte right after they red flagged the race. Or black flagged the race, why did I say red flags there?
Yeah. I mean, I guess the question there is, do you think he made the right choice?
I think
would
just
say so.
promotional standing and all that, and just the opportunity to run in the 500, yes. Daniel?
No.
You don't think so?
No, his commitments to NASCAR and the 5 team, not the 17 team in Indy. Yeah, he put a lot of work into that, but at the end of the day, driving the 5 car for Rick Hendrick's his job, not driving the 17 Indy car.
But when you have Hendrick there...
And Rick Hendrick had said all week that I know rain's a possibility, but the Coca-Cola 600 is priority. And then day of, he's like, yeah, I'm racing the Indy 500. And that's the thing we can go ahead and transition into should he get a waiver or not.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to give it to him.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But he basically said this is more important than racing a NASCAR race. So why should NASCAR give him a waiver if he's prioritizing other motorsports over NASCAR?
My rebuttal is this is a question asking for a rebuttal, correct? It's not rhetorical.
I don't know.
Take it the
Okay.
way you want.
Well,
You're asking my question. If my question was for rebuttal, yes, it was for rebuttal.
Okay.
Why should they give him a waiver, even though they used it just the same thing as the fight? They promoted it and promoted it and promoted it. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the precedent that Kyle Larson just set is that if I want to run a dirt race and it's on a Sunday, I'll just miss it if they're going to give me a waiver.
I disagree with that.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what race it is. That is the Indy 500. He put a different motorsports above NASCAR, which doesn't deserve a waiver, in my opinion. Now they're going to give it to him, and I get it, and I'm not mad that they're giving it to him, but I don't think it's deserving of the waiver.
Well,
Doesn't matter what race he's running, but he's choosing to prioritize something else over his full-time job.
Emily, I'll let you go, and then I'll close after that.
I think if it was not Larson, the waiver would be a 50-50 shot. But because it is Larson, he's definitely going to get it. If it wasn't someone who,
and that's a problem. If
saying
Corey
that's
LaJoy
not.
wanted to go do that, they wouldn't give him a waiver. I mean,
Correct.
Obviously he doesn't have a shot to make the playoffs unless he pulls a win out of his butt somewhere. But still,
I mean,
So-
take
it doesn't matter
Suarez.
who does it.
Suarez, who has won a race this year. Take him. If he went and did that, the waiver would still be a 50-50 shot. We'd be having this conversation, but because it's Larson, it's
No,
a
I mean, they're
given.
going to give him the waiver. They're
All
going
right.
to give it to him. That's
Well,
not a
right.
question. He doesn't deserve it, though.
And I think that's where the problem lies with you saying, oh, they've set a precedence. Because let's be honest, how many precedents has NASCAR set in the past that they don't uphold themselves?
See, and
A lot. But
Okay.
NASCAR is not setting this precedent. Kyle Larson is.
but this transcends NASCAR in the sense of,
Mhm.
well, okay, you want a superstar? We talked about this earlier this year on the podcast. You want a superstar. Chase Elliott is not your superstar. Chase Elliott is not NASCAR superstar. He is a behind the mic, hidden away during the week, races on the weekend. You want a superstar, you want somebody that's out there in multiple series running every week, contending for wins and contending for a Cup Series championship. You want the millions of viewers that viewed IndyCar that came over to watch, which were unfortunately we're not going to be able to see the statistics of what transcended, but IndyCar itself, you can go off of this, went up 1 million plus views from last year's Indy 500, and I would denote a lot of that to the Kyle Larson effect. Kyle Larson has that kind of effect. If Kyle Larson ran Sonoya, I would be at Sonoya. 100%. If Kyle Larson ran Talladega short track, I know that you'd be there. Why wouldn't we? And it's one of those things that the Indy 500 is such a prestigious event. It was so massively publicized and such a marquee. Even though, yes, the Coke 600 is a marquee, and I mean, yeah, he doesn't get points, but it created an even cooler storyline if they ran the full race. Of Justin Allgaier just ran this car to 13th, and Kyle Larson's about to get in this car and dominate, and it creates this fairy tale story that's not a gimmick, it's not a game, it's not a clash in the Coliseum and on a football field. It is a real driver with real talent being able to perform at the highest level in multiple cars, multiple generations of cars. And for that, the fan base that probably came over from IndyCar that may not follow NASCAR, but now they follow Kyle Larson. We need those Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s. We need those Dale Earnhardts, those Jeff Gordons. We don't have them. That transcend just NASCAR. It's not just NASCAR that us and the people that watch us and listen to us know these names, but it's a household name when you're at Monaco and they bring up Kyle Larson at Monaco during F1 or in Miami during F1. When his name's mentioned in an international airport, this guy's doing this. Like, that is what it's about, because that puts eyes on the sport. And that is where, in this situation, that I 100% believe that no matter what, there should be a give me for a waiver. And at that point, even further into that is NASCAR got the help from that team specifically, Hendrick Motorsports, to run Garage 56 at Le Mans. Like, how are
Does
you
that mean
not
they
gonna,
should get special treatment?
in this situation, if you're not going to grant Kyle Larson a waiver, but you're going to use their equipment to do other things, then you may need to rethink how you
You don't think they got
manage your
paid to do
company.
that?
Oh, I don't believe that they didn't get paid to do that. But also, do you not think that they got paid for Kyle Larson doing all this for them? The promotionary aspect of it? Do you know how many H1100 shirts and T-shirts and signs were at Charlotte Motor Speedway this weekend?
They're all
it was
null
a
and
ton.
void. It's H500 now.
Oh, yeah, it's H500 100%. But
But
either way,
here's a rebuttal to that, is
okay.
that he signed a 2-year deal with that IndyCar team.
Mm-hmm.
Should something happen and he not be able to run the 500 next year, this year, he can run it next year. So he could have said, all right, this isn't going to work. Let's try again next year. And then guess what? The whole circle of all this buzz comes back again because Kyle Larson's trying the Indy 500 next year.
But
So
do
he
you
could
give
have
up
put
P5
He
NASCAR's,
actually got in this year.
he's good enough to get in this year. You don't think he's going to get in next year?
I'm not saying
mean,
that, but what I am
Everything
saying
changes. He got knocked out in the round of 8 the second year of the playoffs after winning a championship.
He was having an off year. But look, my
is,
Everybody
if he
thing
has
has
an
it.
off
is,
year next
I mean,
year,
all right, look, he finished 18th this year anyways. I mean, what kind of, you know what I mean? He probably had a better shot next year with more IndyCar time under his belt.
The only thing
You know?
that killed him this year was a speeding penalty on pit road. He was trying to pull a NASCAR move that he did to Blaney at Homestead last year, and just overshot it, slid into the pit road.
But
But
with another year, he would know better.
100%. But
And that's my thing, is he had the opportunity to say, this isn't going to work. Let me go do my job that I'm contractually obligated to do. And I'll come back again next year because I signed this 2-year deal in case something like this happened to where I could go fulfill my obligations to NASCAR.
I still think that, like, it's one of those things because of the amount of eyes that it brought to you that there should be a little bit of a asterisk beside it. Now, granted, I mean,
Do
either
you
way,
think even if he wouldn't have been able to race and had to fly back, do you think people that finished the Indy 500 still wouldn't be like, well, let me see how he's going to do since he wasn't able to make it here?
no, they wouldn't care. They wouldn't care as much as watching his talent on the track and then following it through.
They saw his talent on the track. He qualified 5th.
Okay, did you go back and watch SVG's videos after he won the Chicago Street Course last year in Supercar?
No, but I watched the Xfinity races to see how he does.
Okay, but it's because you know what he can do in the
And
Cup car.
I didn't, and it's different because they're not showing his stuff on American TV most of the time, and I'm not going to search to find that. This was on Fox Network, primetime Fox Network.
still think the storyline's great.
The storyline's phenomenal. I'm not knocking
Yeah.
the storyline. This is strictly about whether he should get a waiver or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you grant a waiver for somebody you suspended for potentially harming and or killing somebody last year. And
I
I
don't think
mean,
they
he
should have
made.
done that either.
Hold on. Let's do this. He made the choice to go snowboarding. Snowboarding's a dangerous sport.
Okay. Medical is different because then you're putting the
Yeah, but
drivers in a
it's
box
hold on.
to
It's
where they
outside of
can't
NASCAR.
go do those things, period.
But it's outside of NASCAR.
So you're saying
I
Kyle
hate when
Larson
y'all
shouldn't race
fucking-
another dirt track race because he could get hurt.
I'm not saying that. I'm asking. That's what you're saying.
No, I'm
Yeah.
saying that NASCAR should be his priority.
Okay. Well, NASCAR should have been Chase Elliott's priority. Did you listen to his Dale Jr. podcast? He decided to make one
It's
more
not.
run when he was already running late for his plane, and then broke his
Exactly. And it
busted
cost
his knee.
him.
Yeah. So NASCAR
And
obviously
he
wasn't
shouldn't
his
have got a
priority
waiver
at
for
that
that
point.
either. I think in any racing incident, whether it be NASCAR or somewhere else, if you get injured, you should get a waiver. Because if a NASCAR Cup driver is going to a local short track or somewhere else and they get injured, what are they doing while they're there? Promoting the sport and getting those dirt track people or the short track or wherever they're at to turn their eyes to NASCAR. Not when you're snowboarding.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
that's you just contradicted your statement by saying that because he just went to the Indy 500 and did the same thing. Alex Bowman got a waiver last year for
He
breaking his
had
back in a sprint
okay,
car.
but this is different because he had a choice.
At the end of the day, there's
to be
really
at the
no
race.
difference. He had a choice to get out of the car.
Yes, it is.
Hold on. He had
If
a
he
choice.
gets hurt on a Tuesday, and what is that? That's completely different. If on Sunday he's like, yeah, screw NASCAR, I'm going to race this IndyCar race today. That's completely different.
It would be considered a once. Oh, we've lost your mic.
I'm not speaking. My camera's just behind.
Oh, your camera's behind. So what you're saying is because we go on a Tuesday or Saturday to promote it, then it's fine. But if we go on Sunday, when it should be technically fine, but then Mother Nature screws everything up, then it's not okay. So, would you agree with the old rule of as long as you qualify for the race, you're technically accounted for?
Yes, because he made
qualified
the
for
effort,
race.
and he made the effort to be there, and I think that had he ran a little bit of the race, I know Mother Nature screwed him on that.
I feel like everybody would have a different opinion.
But yes, it would be a completely different opinion. But he decided to say, "I'm willing to take that risk," and and like I'm saying, it's different. So racing on a Tuesday is different because what's NASCAR doing on Tuesday? Not shit. But on Sunday, this
We're
is
here.
when they're supposed to be doing their job, racing
Okay.
for NASCAR. That's completely different.
Y'all scare me when y'all start
I
debating.
just again, I get I think you're setting like the precedent that there needs to be a black and white rule, and we're all under the same
There
impression.
does
He's
need
going
to
to
be
get the
one.
waiver, 100%.
Yeah, he's
I really
definitely getting the
think-
waiver.
But the thing is NASCAR does not work off of black and white rules. That's the one thing that y'all always debate about.
Well, and that's a good thing they don't, because now we have a reason to debate.
Yeah, we would be
They
pretty
always
cut and dry.
work in the gray area.
hmm I mean,
They're
Again.
always like NASCAR is a very case by case thing.
I'm just, I don't know. I'm dying on my hill. I think that it's fine, and I think it's fine for the sake of the fact of, and I would say, yeah, it is different if you had a Ryan Preece try to do it, but
It shouldn't be.
You have well,
They
again,
want all this
this-
parity. The parity should apply in the rules.
yeah, but the parity can't be found in the rules. Even with black and white rules, you can't find the parity. There wouldn't be
Is
parity.
if you call everything straight down the middle.
I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree. Please don't punch me.
I'm not saying on how
Dang.
teams. I'm not saying parity on how teams play to the rules, but how rules are enforced. There has to be parity in how rules are enforced. It doesn't matter that Hendrick Motorsports did Garage 56. It doesn't matter that Hendrick Motorsports is Hendrick Motorsports. It should be judged whether it's Front Row Motorsports or Spire, or not SHR anymore, but
Yeah, we'll get to that.
or Wood Brothers. It should be straight down the middle.
I don't disagree at all. I still think that there's still the fact of the matter you have to look at the bigger side of this is NASCAR is trying to grow a brand and grow a sport that is in a very volatile state, and that has to be accounted for in this instance. And that may be something that's going to be rectified moving forward with their decision making and making the rules more black and white, as we've seen throughout the season. But for this instance, I think that it does have to be looked at as the fact of it's bigger than just NASCAR as a whole. And this was a good thing for NASCAR, especially if they grant them a waiver, because it would be really bad to treat your fans like you did this weekend and then not give a waiver to the most popular guy that could dethrone Chase Elliott as most popular driver this year. So
I think he had the most merch sales at the Indy 500 too. Like, he sold more merch sales than anybody else,
that's
and
crazy.
his only IndyCar race he's ever ran.
Yeah, he got Rookie of the Year of the Indy 500 too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I saw that today. But that's where I'm at. The sport's in such a volatile state as a whole for NASCAR that has to be looked at from that perspective and from a business point. But moving forward, I do agree that they should black and white the rules. I don't disagree with that at all. But I do disagree with the fact that they shouldn't grant him a waiver.
Yeah, and I mean, he did sign that 2-year contract, so he's going to have the opportunity to do it again next year.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Should he choose to,
I
and all the
think that's gonna be the thing.
sponsorships and stuff online.
Yeah.
So I mean, next year, same situation, and he chooses Indy over NASCAR again. I'll die on this hill again if he prioritizes Indy over NASCAR again.
So I
If
might
he-
be
all
right
right,
there with you.
let me
We'll
ask
have
you-
to see.
And we'll move into hypotheticals, Alan. If he did it again,
Mhm.
if he did it again, same situation, and shrugged off NASCAR, you think he should get a waiver the second time?
I
How
don't
good was the
think-
Clash year 2? It's at that
Mhm.
point it does become a gimmick. That's what I'm referencing. Is the Clash was a gimmick year 2. Year 1 it was cool. Year 2 is a gimmick.
But I don't
Mhm.
think he shrugged off NASCAR. I don't think that's what he did.
Yeah, I mean I do think that's a
Said,
pretty
"This
heavy
isn't-
decision.
He said, "This isn't as important to me as the Indy 500."
I don't think that's exactly what he said.
I mean, that's what
And
he made it seem to
he
be.
would have given the opportunity, he would have jumped in his car. He was there.
Yeah,
he was
ran.
sitting.
Well,
He was
I mean,
running.
they showed him running, but he did have the opportunity,
I
and he
mean,
chose to stay in Indy.
again, my whole thing is at the end of the day, you gotta look at Kyle Larson as a racer too. He's not gonna give up an opportunity to go somewhere else and do something really cool. And I mean, I can't fault him for that. That's just who he is as a race
No,
car
I mean,
driver.
I don't.
So, and
Let
that
me
was
get
his
it,
choice.
let's get it straight.
to-
I don't blame him. I'm glad he did it, but I don't think he should get a waiver
Mm,
because it was a decision he made.
so,
That's not NASCAR's fault.
So, I hate to move on to another point about Larson because I feel like we're about to go back into what we were talking about. Justin Allgaier, I almost said ran his car. I mean, I guess that's drove his car for him, and he actually had it in 13th place when the rain came in. If
It was super
Larson-
impressive because he went a lap down, and during the pit cycle, he came out right in front of the leader and stayed in front of the leader the whole time to stay on the lead lap.
I'm telling you, that is the fastest car in NASCAR. The things you can do in that car.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you
I was
can
like, I
tell.
almost feel like, no discount to Justin Allgaier's skill, but I almost feel like maybe I could do that. Is it
It's like
Kyle
the car
Larson or is it
drives
the 5
itself.
car?
What is it really?
I think it's just like there's got to be some spell on the 5 car that's just like you got an extra. It's a sticker that gives it extra 10 horsepower. That's what it is.
If Larson had the opportunity to actually finish Charlotte, do you think he had the potential to win?
Yeah.
Any given opportunity, Kyle Larson can win, for sure.
That car in P13 with Justin Allgaier though, that car's winning the.
And someone who's never drove the next gen car,
Yeah.
making his first
That's
laps in the
what's
next
even-
gen car.
His last
P13.
Cup start was 2020. His last Cup start was 2020.
Are y'all surprised by Justin Allgaier's performance?
100%. I'm shocked. Especially watching him ride around in the back all day. Like, I watched him for stage 1. I really paid close attention to what Allgaier was doing because that's one of those things of like, if Larson gets here and the rain doesn't come or the rain holds off, if Allgaier doesn't keep this car in one piece, there's not even a chance that Larson gets to do anything. So for him to be able to run that car, and then I watched him, I was like, I know there's more speed in that car. Like, you're riding back there with the 15 and the 31. Like, I know there's more speed in that car, and then all of a sudden he's marching through the field and making moves. I'm like, yeah, Larson gets in this car, he's probably going to win this race. If he keeps the fender.
And over the radio, Cliff Daniels told him, he said, I know you're doing a good job preserving this car, he said, but, we need you to pick it up just a little bit. And I think that's why he was around in the back, because in the back of his mind, he was like, if I wreck this car and ruin the opportunity for Kyle Larson to compete in the double, I'm the biggest butthole of all time, trying to go
He
out
would
here
have
and
been
prove
enemy
myself that I
number
need to be in the
one.
Cup Series and go out here and wreck this car. Everyone's going to hate me.
Yeah.
Do you feel like
So
he
I think that had a
proved
lot
he
to do with
should
him
be
being in the
Cup?
back. I don't think so.
I don't think so, but I don't think that he disproved anything at the same point. I think that he definitely elevated his stock overall, but I think that there's still more talent above him. And, I mean, I think we discussed this last year. I think he's just a lifetime Xfinity driver, which is fine. I mean, he's making good money. He finishes good. He's got a win under his belt this season. So, I mean.
He's always in the hunt for the championship. He just is the Denny Hamlin of the Xfinity Series.
Yep. So.
Well, we'll get to Hamlin here in a little bit.
So.
All right, so 249 laps into the race, the rain started. That was lovely.
It was great.
It was an amazing experience.
It was a wet experience.
We were actually at the track, and they announced that they expected about a 30-minute rain shower, which it was.
Yeah, just ballpark.
And then, of course, they were like, we're going to dry off the track and we'll go back green. So it was about an hour and a half later, wasn't it? So about 2 hours in total since the
about
rain
2 hours
started.
total since they red flagged the race.
They just came. They literally were having us watch
Yeah, we were watching
TV.
top 20 moments in NASCAR or something, and they came on, and we thought that we were about to get an announcement about when the green flag was going to drop again, and it was when they came on the radio, you just knew.
It was the way. It was
it.
the voice.
They're calling the race.
You can
It
hear
was
the
the
tone in their
tone.
voice.
We've been here for 2 hours since the rain started waiting, and I mean.
It was without
be
warning
honest.
because they were we're going back green, and the track looked pretty dry. They got pit road dry really well. They said it was because of humidity and the fact that they may not be able to go green before 1 in the morning.
And that there was imminent weather coming in later in the night.
And there was no more weather the rest of the night.
So there was one at about
Was there?
1:30.
Oh.
There was lightning strikes within 8 miles. So they would have.
I'm glad you knew that because I didn't.
I learned that today. So I will say, first off, they started off by drying pit road. They were just making laps around pit road like they were running the Bandolera track, short track right there, like it was a Thursday night. And then finally decided to go around the track. They blew up one of the jet dryers. One of it.
Pablo style?
No, not one Pablo style. It blew a hose. And so that was one out of the count, and then they called it right after that, which I think that may have played a part as well of losing one of the trucks. But they only had 5 trucks out there.
Well, they rented some of theirs.
You know, they rented the rest of them to
Indy,
any car.
Yeah, Indy rented some of them.
It's crazy.
That's a
Well,
pisser.
thanks, Indy. You
So-
just like absolutely ruined the whole weekend. But yeah,
Gas or brake, Alan? Do you feel like it was good or bad to do that?
I think that so NASCAR has never called a race or ran a race after the halfway point the next day. That's just their precedent. They make the halfway point, the race is over. Race is official.
Right.
So I mean, everybody says, "Well, it's the 600." Well, yeah, it is, but I mean, there's only so much you can do. Because also, I was talking to my dad about this, and because like I was pretty frustrated Sunday, and Monday we were on the phone on the way home, and he was like, "Well, you got to remember there may be local ordinances involved in everything too." I was like, "That is a good point," because he was talking about he went out to the Memphis Dragway, and they said we can't run after 8:15. Like, if we can't finish by 8:15, we're done tomorrow. We got to finish tomorrow, and that's what they had to do. So the same thing. Sorry, the dog just like freaked out. The same thing I think applies.
Pretty sure you farted.
She like did a whole
She
weird
did like
flip
a little
of it.
flip over here. It was really weird, but the same thing I think applies is we got to keep in mind there may have been noise ordinances, and the race
Right.
was over halfway completed. So while I'm sitting in the stands and she's sitting in the stands and we're cold, wet, and a little perturbed, but we
was gonna
see
say-
that they have the air compressors to the cars, they're pulling tarps on the cars, everybody's under the impression they're going green, and then it's just pulled out from under us. Because the biggest thing was there was no communication.
If they would have
Yeah, and I
communicated
think
that there was
with
a
how-
potential, it would be completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that goes to with how Indy handled theirs. They had 2 press conferences about the rain, and here's what it's looking like now, and here's what we're gonna do. And I think that's the most frustrating part, because we see an organization do it right and inform people to where they're not just sitting around with their thumbs up their butt waiting on a race to happen that's not going to happen. You know?
Yeah, Charlotte was sold out. Charlotte Motor Speedway was sold out. They had the signs in front of the ticket stands outside sold out. And I promise you that you still had over 75% of the fans there. Granted, you couldn't leave in the hurricanado that came through because it was wild.
and it came in really fast.
You felt the wind blowing, and then all of a sudden it was like completely horrible. It felt like Bubba Gumper.
Sideways rain,
Yeah.
upside down rain.
We were
And
we were under the grandstands when they told everyone to evacuate, and it was just like you heard beer cans and all kinds of stuff
everybody's
crashing.
trash just flying everywhere. You saw gazebos, tents, all types of stuff just everywhere. But I mean, like I said, it was the biggest thing. I think the communication, because you had probably about 70 to 75% of the fan base still there. I mean, I know that I was texting back and forth with people. The group that we were with, we were all planning on waiting it out, and no communication. They got the trucks were drying, and it was like, oh well, we're gonna go green. I mean, you got crews coming back up to the cars, drying their pit boxes, drying the walls, getting the cars starting to pull the covers off, and then all of a sudden they call the race. And I think that's what ties directly into Jeff Gluck's poll too.
I agree, but we'll get there.
24.4% is pretty low, especially considering that the 373.5 miles that they did run was good.
Really
and
good.
for it to be, and I think the 24.4% is a direct result of people pissed off that it didn't get finished.
That's
Oh,
yeah,
it's a full result of-
24.4
yeah.
saying it was a good race, just to like
Yeah.
saying it was a good race. But yeah, that's the second lowest race at Charlotte. The number one being the 2017 All-Star. And that's the lowest one of the season so far.
hmm That's the only one under
Yeah.
50% this
I was
season,
going to
too.
say that is
Especially when you consider how the short tracks and the road courses have raced for this race to be the lowest one. Insane.
Yeah, a mile and a half marquee event being the lowest.
yeah.
That's rough.
And I think it just had so much to do with the potential of that race, you know?
The
It
That-
was
potential
we know
shaping
what
up
is
to
a
be a
letdown.
really,
Yeah,
really
we
good
know what
race.
it can be, and the fact that we didn't get it just irks people's nerves.
Yeah, I mean, you saw You saw Byron would get out to a lead, then Bell ran him down. Bell ran off and hid, but then Keselowski started running him down.
Yeah, it came up out of
and
nowhere.
had the only car that could get to him, and was there. Keselowski could have just as easily had this race as Christopher Bell got it. And I think that the contenders
the
would have
longer
totally
the
changed.
ran, yeah. Well, I mean, this is kind of we've said it 4 or 5 times now on these racetracks to where every time they're pitting, they're getting 4 tires because of the tire wear. Who do you see constantly in the front? Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr., the veterans. And here's Brad Keselowski again up to the front. And I think it would have been fun to see Larson charge back up to that field, but I think the longer that race went on and the further into the night it went, Brad Keselowski had the car to beat.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Fords were the dominant cars.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, you had Hendrick and JJ
Well,
dominating, but you had
Yeah.
7 4s in the top 20.
Mm-hmm. As far as the mass of the manufacturer, Ford was looking good.
Do you
Even
actually
with-
think that Keselowski would have won if he had the chance? If
Oh, for sure.
we had ran a full race.
Brad Keselowski's back. He's got his mojo back.
all it took was a
Where's it
Darlington
been?
win. It's been in
I mean,
development.
Yeah, I mean, 100-something races of no win does something to your confidence.
Yeah.
And and he's getting older, and for him to win again and be like,
How old
okay,
is
I
Keselowski?
still got it. It's probably like 40, 39, 40.
Let's see. He is 40. Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, man. I don't know. But otherwise, congratulations to Christopher Bell for his Coke 373.5 win with 259 laps in. Congratulations. Honestly, again, a dominant car. He got 2 stage wins and the race win for a total of, what is that, 40, 50, 60 something points? Because I think he also
Given
got
one of
points
those
in
was
stage
under
1.
caution.
Yeah, because they gave where they finished is where they gave stage points for stage 3 as well.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
but yeah, well done by them. I don't know how much there is more about the Coke 373.5 to talk about, but I know that there is some big news that dropped today.
Do you have the quote for me to read? By chance?
I have one more thing about the Coke 373.5.
What you got?
Go ahead.
There could have been 9 Fords in the top 20,
Yeah.
but mine and Emily's picks sold on us and finished dead last.
Oh, no, 39th and 38th.
Oh, yeah, my bad. I forgot.
I literally.
I forgot about the starting park that was in the field.
They showed Blaney's crew on the screen trying to get the tire off, and I was like, oh gosh. And then he tried to pull
My heart
out, he
broke.
couldn't, and they just towed him. And then freaking Gragson.
Gragson
Right
spins by
after that, I
himself.
was like, yes, I'm having a great week. And the next thing you know, he's gone. and then
It was all downhill from there.
What did Haley finish?
Oh, I don't know. That's outside the top 20.
I don't even know what he finished.
It doesn't take much to win, but it's a win. I'm back, baby.
That's how I felt at Darlington.
I was gonna say, is that how you felt after like me and Alan had such good picks and then they just
I was in
Let's
last
see.
place until the 3rd stage.
I'm going to pull up Haley real quick. See where my boy finished.
I was gonna say, where
Winning
did
me the week, baby. I think it was like
I
24th.
think it was like 23rd or something.
22nd. We were all wrong. Look
Yes.
at him. Almost the top 20.
mm-hmm.
But I reckon it's time to get into silly season, guys.
Okay. Before
And
we get
it
into
got a
silly
whole lot
season,
sillier today.
I
Oh, it
am
got
going
really
to
silly.
go ahead and read the statement.
Get your clear your throat.
SHR. All right. So it's what we've been talking about literally all season. It's been the one big rumor.
But it's bigger than we thought.
Yes. We thought they were only selling one charter. So they said, we have made the difficult decision to close at the conclusion of the 2024 season. It is a decision that did not come easily, nor was it made quickly. Racing is a labor-intensive, humbling sport. It requires unwavering commitment and vast resources with a 365-day mindset to be better than everyone else. It's part of what makes success so rewarding. but the commitment needed to extract maximum performance while providing sustainability is incredibly demanding, and we've reached a point in our respective personal and business lives where it's time to pass the torch. We're proud of all the wins and championships we've earned since joining together in 2009, but even more special is the culture we built and the friends we forged as we committed to a common cause, winning races and collecting trophies. That is the same commitment that we made to our personnel, our partners, and our fans coming into this year, and that commitment will remain through the season finale at Phoenix. We have tremendous respect and appreciation for all of our employees, and we will work diligently to assist them during this transition to find new opportunities beyond the 2024 race season. So that is 4 charters.
So first off, condolences to the 300 plus, probably, and I think there was over 300 people that work for Stewart Haas Racing, counting teams, office personnel, and everything. So condolences to them. Hopefully they can find work within the industry and continue to do what they love to do. But that is 6 total. That is the Xfinity
Well, that's
Series
6.
included.
I wasn't counting Xfinity. So
Yeah.
6
6
charters.
drivers.
2 in Xfinity, 4 in Cup. That don't
Are up
don't
for
have
grabs.
a team next year, and
It's funny because 3 of the 4 Stewart Haas cars are running Overstock, which is a liquidation company's logo, this week at Worldwide Technology. So just a little
why were the condolences?
how punny. But so that opens a wormhole of opportunity.
I definitely think no matter who buys it, Gregson will still have a ride next year. Somebody will buy a charter and snatch him up. With how good, because Alan and I were talking about this earlier today, this is really Gregson's inaugural season because he didn't run a full season last year. And he's doing really good for where he's at in his racing experience.
Yeah. Like I said, with our conversation earlier, I do agree.
Maybe Barry. Maybe I'm still.
I will say this: I don't see Gregson staying with Ford. Daniel?
I was just, while y'all were talking, I was writing down. So one thing I think we can all agree on, Ryan Preece won't be in the Cup Series next year.
Yeah.
I think that's a very agreeable point.
Which is
So,
sad.
And
I
think one thing that's pretty much been talked about that's probably going to come to fruition now for sure is Chase Briscoe to the 21. Harrison Burton's going to be gone because Ford's big on Briscoe.
Yes.
So I think we can kind of lock him into that. So here's the possible rides for Barry and Gregson. So there's going to be the 34, 36, 16, 31, and then I would say the 67, but 2311 is going to give that to Corey Haim. So there's 2 Ford options and 2 Chevrolet options.
Don't
To
forget
me,
the
it's going to
potential
be
of Martin Truex Jr. retiring this year.
How many open spots are there going to be after this year?
So
Including free charters. Just
there's 4 charters
Well-
up for grabs. There's a 34 seat open that we know for sure.
5.
So there's 5 total seats right there.
I mean, if we want to go ahead and put Burton's seat open.
Burton seats all
I'm
but,
saying
all
open,
but locked at this
But
point.
we're not.
I would
it's
be
open.
shocked.
It's open, but soon to be closed.
Yeah, I would be shocked if
Yes.
it's not
Especially
Briscoe.
with this announcement. So I think what's important right here to go through is where these charters are basically going. So Bob Prochrist semi-confirmed that 2311, Trackhouse, and Front Row have 3 of the 4 charters purchased, which leaves I think the only 3 possible teams, in my opinion, because I think, Alan, you told me that next year with the charter agreement, it's probably going to be Hendrick and Joe Gibbs are grandfathered in, but it's going to be 3
It's 3
teams
cars.
max on your charters. So looking at the 2-car teams that could fiscally consume another car out of the Ford camp, I'm looking at RFK,
Mhm.
RCR, or Legacy Motor Club. Those are the only per manufacturer that
I
if it was going
agree.
to go to either one of those manufacturers, that's where I think it would go.
See, I do have one little wrench in there. I think Junior Motorsports.
You did
And I could see them picking that up and picking up Barry.
All right, so another possible for Barry is the 88.
Yes.
I think it would be cool, and this is just because I want to see it, is RCR buying one and putting Austin Hill, pulling Austin Hill up. Because we've talked about the fact that Austin Hill is not going to get a cup ride outside of RCR. We've talked about the fact that they would have to either buy another charter or somebody would have to retire, or they'd have to get rid of them.
He would have to settle on a ride to get a ride.
Well,
And
he has
obviously
that
didn't do that
multi-year
last-
agreement with
The-
RCR.
and
He
the-
signed a multi-year agreement I want to say at the beginning of this season / the end of last season, for a multi-year
Yeah, but
with
RCR
RCR.
could farm him. They could farm him out to Colleague.
Yeah.
I
in the
didn't think
Cup
about
Series.
that. You are right.
So
They could lease
Like-
They could lease the 31, and then put or the 16 or whatever. You know.
well, I think it is all but confirmed that the 2311 Trackhouse and Front Row are buying some of them. But Front Row, again, Front Row is a hit or miss on if they will because they got one seat open.
I think 2311 for sure would buy one.
2311 and Trackhouse will both have one.
I
SVG
think-
will be in the Cup Series and Corey Heim.
Mm-hmm.
I could see Noah Gragson going back to Toyota in the 19. Brees is going away. They're going to bring up to the 34 car will probably be Josh Berry unless Junior buys a charter. And I think that's kind of all she wrote.
Daniel Harper in the chat just put that Bob said earlier today he talked to Junior last week and he said he's not in the charter buying business. So Junior Motorsports may not.
I feel like he says a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
don't think
things.
that's coming. I know, but he's so cheap.
So, got to get everybody
He's-
petition Kelly then. She's in charge anyways.
But you know, and I think he said it's
I'm not
because they're
kidding.
so
That's
expensive.
all underneath her.
But when you're selling 4 charters, they're not going to get 40 million for each charter.
I
is
saw
gonna be
earlier the
the-
going rate's $25 million.
Yeah, this is going to be Junior's best bang for his buck to get in,
Well, that's
if
why
he is going to get in.
That's why I throw him in
If
the
he
mix because
wants.
I haven't heard much about him buying any.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the fact that he said he wishes he'd have bought Chip Ganassi a few years ago, when they were like $2 million each, because of what they're worth
Yeah.
now. So that's the only reason that I throw.
Well,
him in
and
the
if you
mix.
look at where
And-
Trackhouse is too,
but he could pick up a potential winner in Josh Berry, a championship crew chief in Rodney Childers, and that whole entire 14 that is clicking on all cylinders right now. I mean, that is the best deal in the market right now. Is you can pick up an entire team, not just a driver that's already meshing, and you just put a bow tie on it and call it a day. And cars that are already performing, because I'm sure that there'll be an alliance with Hendricks. So, I mean, it's the best opportunity that he's going to have for a long time to get into the sport, into the Cup Series level. But realistically, I think Front Row, RCR, Trackhouse, and 2311. So that's just
I don't know. I just feel like the way RFK's ticking right now, they might want to
I
bid a
think
little.
RFK.
Because I mean, I think those first 3 are probably all but sold, and
Yeah.
that last one's going to go to a bidding war. That one might sell for more than 25.
yeah. I know Brad Keselowski put on X today that he's 30 million short, but I feel like that's just kind of like a teaser.
That's just Brad Keselowski though.
So, well, he doesn't even really
Yeah.
post that much. So, seeing him say something like that, responding to a tweet. But I'm going to die on this hill. This is my one silly season rumor right now. Noah Gragson to Toyota.
Okay. I mean,
That would be a dub.
can
I mean,
see it.
because
He came up through Toyota.
the only kicker to that is Bass Pro Shop said they're leaving Joe Gibbs. So I guess they would be like, oh, well, this changes. We're coming back. You know?
Well, I mean,
I think
isn't
that would be the
Gragson
only-
on a partnership with him, not with
Mm-hmm.
the team?
Yeah,
So,
he
this is a
specifically
personal
brings the
sponsorship.
sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where I see that coming forth and coming to fruition is the fact that Noah has that personal deal with Bass Pro. So that's the only place I really see that coming to fruition is through that. But that's my silly season right now is Gregson's going to Toyota, and if JGR doesn't snag him up, I think 2311 will, because the other one's getting Corey Heim. Corey Heim's going Cup Series racing next year. It's almost but confirmed. I guarantee it.
Mm-hmm.
So he's
Yeah,
shown
he's
flashes
going-
in the 43 that isn't that great of a car, honestly, right now. I mean, they're getting there, but they're not there yet. And I think he's gonna get a Tier 1 Toyota ride next year. And if he doesn't,
Oh yeah,
Toyota's
he's
losing
going to
somebody.
the 67. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Gibbs might throw him in a Xfinity ride.
So, well, again, I'm set that Martin's probably retiring this year. So I would say that it's probably the 19 and the 67 will be open, because 2311 is 100% going to be buying a charter. They've been trying for 2 years now. So that's just there's my take. I feel like we've been on this for a minute. We've been talking for a minute. Goodness, we've still got a lot to go through.
Are we ready to get into some point standings?
Yes,
we
because
actually.
there's some shifting this week.
I was gonna say we haven't had a shift in a good minute.
Yeah, there's some big swings in the point standings this week.
All right, so you have Hamlin, Truex, Larson, Elliott, Byron, Reddick, Gibbs, Bowman, Keselowski, Chastain, Bell, Blaney, Wallace, Busch, Busher, Briscoe, and then you have Suarez 18th, and he's knocking Briscoe out of the playoffs. Or knocking out Briscoe in playoff. Who put that?
I didn't proofread it fully.
Okay. I was
yeah.
like, wait, hold on. And
So-
then on the bubble, you have Wallace, Busch, Busher, Briscoe, Logano, and Barry.
The bubble part, you need to read the pluses and minuses.
You
Or else
wanna
that doesn't
read the
make
pluses
sense.
and minuses? Okay.
Yeah.
So, to go back to our movers, because that's what I was going to do. I was going to go back and talk about who moved up. So you have Hamlin up 2 spots and Larson dropping 2 spots. Larson actually went from a 30-point lead to -6 since he missed this race.
It's a big race.
So
to
a
miss.
36-point swing.
Mm-hmm.
So if he
Um,
doesn't win the regular season championship by less than 36 points, that's the difference.
Yep. It's all right there. The one race. So biggest points paying day. You have 7 playoff points on the line, and a potential of
How many playoff points
50,
do you have?
60, 70 points and 7 playoff points.
No, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it's the biggest points day of the year.
Yeah.
So 70 points, 7 playoff points. That's a big day, and that regular season championship awards 15 bonus points. So something that helped a couple guys through the playoffs the last couple of years. Chase Elliott being one, Truex being the other.
Mm-hmm.
It helped him through the first round.
Yeah, Truex was the first. They got Chase the round of the championship 4.
Now, a little further down is where you start seeing a little more shifting. So you have Bowman up 1 to 8th, Keselowski up 2 to 9th, Bell up 4 to 11th, with Blaney dropping 4 and 12th. Bubba Wallace up 3 and 13th and dropping Busch 1 to 14th, Busher dropping 3 to 15th, and Briscoe dropping 2 to 16th. Now on the bubble.
Yeah, points wise.
Points wise, yes, please.
So points wise, Bubba Wallace is plus 10 to the bubble. Busch is plus 1 point to the bubble. Busher is the cutoff with Briscoe at 11 down. Logano is 30 back. And Barry is 82 back, which where he stands, him and and anybody below him is in a must-win situation at this point. So to qualify for the playoffs. So Logano is getting very, very close to that territory, which is very intriguing, seeming that 2 years ago he's a champion and he made the playoffs last year. But
Yeah,
also,
it's-
I mean, it's kind of on par for Ford and Penske.
Yeah. Which, I mean, we're going to a place this weekend where he's won before. And I think his average finish is like 2 or 3 or something here. So,
Yeah. So, I mean, it's
Let's see.
coming up to a
Actually, his average finish is second. Even.
Yeah, Kyle Busch has a better average finish with 1.5. First and in second place.
So what did Logano? I guess Logano finished first and third then. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he only has one win.
Logano won it last year, third the year before. Busch won it the first year, second last year. So you know who runs well. But that's where our point standing are. Again, big swings in the books this week with Larson being the main one,
Yeah.
a 36-point swing. So he's going to have to, that may be something that he has to eat later on in the year. We'll have to wait and see how that falls. But I think moving from there, real quick, the Denny Hamlin Bracket Challenge is open.
Mm-hmm. It is.
I made my picks today.
Who are your picks?
Oh, it's first through 32nd seed. There's a lot
Oh.
to pick from. But I will say I have Denny Hamlin winning it all.
Have you heard how Amazon's doing theirs next year? Like because they have 8 races or 6 races. So the average finish in the first 3 races is going to seed, or they have 8 races. So the average finish in the first 3 races is going to seed the bracket, not the point standings. So that's going to be pretty interesting on how that plays out.
Yeah,
Because you have 2 bad weeks. You're in the bottom of the bracket, and then you got big names going head to head in the first round.
Yeah, that is true. That could be a real game changer right there.
Mm-hmm. That's going to make it pretty interesting.
So, well, I'm very intrigued with it. But we'll have to see how that plays out moving forward next year. From there, where are we heading to next?
Sorry.
I know we're wrapping up towards the end.
I was completely on something else. I feel like we've touched a lot on our experience in Charlotte.
Yeah, Charlotte, it was a bad taste because of the race, the way it ended.
It was a great experience if we would have gotten all of the race. The only bad
Mother
thing
Nature
is we
hates
didn't.
NASCAR.
Yes, this year she definitely does. But, I mean, we've had a couple really good weeks strung together with some good lines to talk about and everything. So I guess we were due for one. But I will say Charlotte's a great city. Had a great time. Lots of places to go, a lot of good eateries.
I want to go back to Charlotte
shops.
just to go back.
We went to a couple race shops. That was really cool. Just a cool experience altogether. Would recommend.
We did go to Hendrick Homecoming. That was
Hendrick
fun.
Homecoming. That was really cool. So I would recommend if you're up in there, go check it out. The city's great. The racetrack is immaculate. So yeah, that's that kind of wraps all that up. But I guess let's look at the Enjoy Illinois 300 coming up this weekend. One of the shorter races on the schedule, next to the Coca-Cola 373.5. I'm still salty. I'm sorry. So, who gets to pick first?
So, since we didn't get to go over our picks last week for the All-Star, I was going to start there. So, starting at the All-Star, Daniel had Larson, I had Hamlin, and you had Elliott.
Yes.
I ended up winning. So, our picks for this past week, I picked Gregson, Daniel picked Blaney, and Alan picked Haley. And obviously, me and Daniel had very bad weeks, and Alan won from 22nd place.
Yes, I did.
He had a better bad week.
I was about to
win
say,
is a win.
he had a better bad week. I'm going to be honest, that's how I felt when you did that. I was like, are you kidding me? Who won you that one? I forget what your pick was that
Logano.
week.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was.
Joey Logano.
Yep.
Yeah, because Busher and Larson wrecked out, and Logano
And Busher
finished
was
in the-
doing so good.
Yeah, Logano finished 21st. So.
So, this week, Alan, you get to pick first. Who are
I
you
do
picking?
get to pick first, and we're going to kind of evaluate this together.
All right, what you got? Who are you
and-
thinking?
Well, the two that I'm thinking is Blaney or Truex. And,
Would you like their stats?
No.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Blaney's average finish is 5th, while Truex's is 5.5.
Well, the most consistent car on the track right now, manufacturer-wise, it's got to be Toyota or Chevy. So I'm going to hold off on a Ford for another couple weeks. And Martin Truex is getting the nod for me at Worldwide Technology, even though Toyota has not won a race there yet.
All right, so you got Truex.
Truex, that would put you up next on the block.
All right, so
You got your boy still.
I that's who I was gonna pick. I was gonna pick Bush.
Oh, there you go.
Bush. There you go.
I'm gonna do the Penske trifecta for points races. I picked Logano, Blaney, and now I'm taking Austin Cindric.
I commend you, sir.
I was gonna say, can you explain Austin Cindric real quick?
Sure. His average finish is
12th.
12th.
Checkers
he
or
has a
wreckers
top-
is what I'm saying.
I
here.
mean, I think the difficulty with this is we only have 2 races here.
Yeah.
The good
So we're
thing-
just kind of going off of what's happened the last 2 years.
The one thing that we do have, though, is both these races have been ran in the next-gen car.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a good idea of how this is kind of, I don't know what package they run here, but it's got kind of a hairpin at the
I think
bottom.
it's a
of the
mile and a
track.
half,
I think they run the mile and a half, but it's like a
or
mile
the
and a quarter
intermediate
track.
package. Yeah.
Now, I will
So-
say Team Penske does have the best finish, like, team-wise there.
6.3.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
With 1 win.
Logano last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, again, I would say that is
Okay.
honestly
I'll
pretty.
give you Cindric.
He's got the consistent pick right there.
Mm-hmm.
We got the checkers or wreckers, and he's got the guy that's going to win from
I was
22nd.
going to say, I just need Stenhouse to stay away.
So, well, guys, I reckon we will wrap this show up. Remember to follow us on our social medias right here, listed on the screen. And also, if you're listening to this on streaming, make sure to give us a rating and review. We really appreciate it. And without further ado, we will talk to you guys next week.